Imagine waking up one day to find your house submerged in water. How did we get here? We are living in a world that's rapidly changing. A world where the weather is more unpredictable than ever before. Our once stable climate has become a roller coaster of extremes. Record-breaking heat waves, devastating wildfires, unprecedented floods, and violent hurricanes have become our new norm. In the last 5 decades alone, we've seen an alarming rise in global temperatures. The polar ice caps are shrinking at a rate that's hard to comprehend. Our oceans are warmer and more acidic, threatening marine life and the intricate balance of our ecosystems. Our Earth, this remarkable planet that has nurtured life for billions of years, is struggling. The signs are all around us and they're impossible to ignore. Climate change is not a distant threat. It's happening here and now. And it's high time we acknowledge the elephant in the room, our contribution to this crisis. We must face the reality of climate change and the role we play in it. The evidence of climate change is undeniable. It's not just a future threat, it's happening right now. Let's engage with the cold, hard facts. The Earth's average temperature has risen by more than 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit over the past century, and the rate of warming has nearly tripled in the last 40 years. This increase in temperature is causing a ripple effect across the globe. The oceans bear the brunt of this heat. Over 90% of the increased atmospheric heat is absorbed by the oceans. This absorption is causing sea levels to rise. In the last 100 years, the global sea level has risen by about 8 inches. But the rate in the last 2 decades has nearly doubled that of the last century and is accelerating slightly every year. Now let's turn our focus to the poles. The polar ice caps are melting at an alarming rate. Arctic sea ice has declined rapidly over the last several decades. In fact, just in the last 30 years, we've lost nearly half of the summer sea ice cover. This loss of ice is a major contributor to the rising sea levels. The planet's weather patterns are also changing. We're seeing more extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, floods, and droughts, which are becoming more frequent and severe. The number of record-high temperature events in the United States has been increasing, while the number of record-low temperature events has been decreasing since the 1950s. The U.S. has also witnessed increasing numbers of intense rainfall events. The evidence is clear. The planet is warming, the seas are rising, the ice is melting, and our weather is becoming more extreme. These aren't just numbers and figures, they are realities that are impacting people, wildlife, and ecosystems around the world. These are the facts. Climate change is not a myth or political ploy. It's a reality that we all need to face. So, who's to blame for all this? The answer might surprise you. It's us, humans. We have, unwittingly or not, become the primary contributors to global warming, and our actions have had a profound impact on the world's climate. Let's start with deforestation. Trees, as we know, act as natural carbon sinks, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. However, the rapid rate at which we're clearing our forests for agriculture, urban development, and logging is alarming. Every second, an area the size of a football field is cleared of trees. This not only reduces the number of trees available to absorb carbon dioxide, but also releases the carbon stored in those trees back into the atmosphere. Next, we have the burning of fossil fuels. Coal, oil, and natural gas have powered our industries, vehicles, and homes for centuries. These fossil fuels, when burned, release vast amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, contributing to the warming of our planet. In fact, the burning of fossil fuels is responsible for nearly 3/4 of the total increase in carbon dioxide levels since the dawn of the industrial era. Lastly, our consumption patterns. We live in a consumer society where the demand for goods and services is constantly on the rise. This demand drives industries that emit greenhouse gases. Whether it's the clothes we wear, the food we eat, or the electronics we use, each product has a carbon footprint, contributing to the overall problem. Each of these factors, and many others, play a part in the complex and growing issue of climate change. But it's important to remember that we're not just the cause, we're also the solution. We have the ability to make choices that can reduce our impact on the environment. We can choose to conserve energy, reduce waste, plant trees, and support clean energy sources. The truth is, we're not just passively watching the climate change, we're actively involved in shaping it. We created this issue, but we also hold the power to solve it. Scene script. Climate change isn't just about hotter summers and colder winters, it's about life and death. We're not just talking about the life and death of a single species or a single forest. We're talking about the life and death of thousands of species, entire ecosystems, and potentially the life and death of humanity itself. Climate change isn't just an environmental issue, it's a crisis that affects every living being on this planet. Let's take a moment to consider the animals. They don't have air conditioning to escape the heat or heaters to ward off the cold. They can't just move to a new home when their habitats are destroyed. Many species are at risk of extinction because of the changes we are causing in their environments. Polar bears, for instance, are losing their icy homes to rising temperatures and melting ice caps. Coral reefs, some of the most biodiverse habitats on Earth, are being bleached and killed off by warmer and more acidic oceans. Now let's consider the impact on us humans. We are seeing an increase in health issues related to climate change. Heat waves are causing an increase in heat-related illnesses and deaths. Changing weather patterns are leading to more intense and frequent natural disasters, causing loss of life and property. Diseases that were once confined to tropical areas are now spreading to other regions due to warmer temperatures. And let's not forget about the environment that sustains us all. Forests are being decimated by wildfires that are becoming more frequent and intense due to drier conditions. Coastal areas are being eroded and inundated due to rising sea levels. Our actions are disrupting the delicate balance of ecosystems that have been millions of years in the making. In the face of all this, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But it's important to remember that we have the power to change course. We have the knowledge and the tools to mitigate the effects of climate change. But it requires action. It requires us to make changes in our own lives and to demand changes at a societal and global level. The impact of climate change is far-reaching and devastating, but it's not too late to change course. We've looked at the problem, now let's focus on the solution. What can we do to combat climate change? Firstly, we must look towards embracing renewable energy. This means harnessing the power of the sun, the wind, and the waves. Solar panels, wind turbines, and hydroelectric power stations can provide us with the energy we need, without burning fossil fuels and releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Imagine a world where the air is clean because our power comes from the sun and the wind, not from coal and oil. Secondly, we can reduce waste. This means recycling where possible, composting organic waste, and reducing our use of single-use plastics. Did you know that an estimated 8 million metric tons of plastic waste enters the oceans each year? Reducing this waste not only helps to combat climate change, but also protects our wildlife and keeps our landscapes beautiful. Thirdly, we need to reconsider our consumption patterns. Do we really need to buy new clothes every season? Could we eat less meat given the environmental impact of livestock farming? These are hard questions, but important ones. Every product we buy has an environmental footprint, and by making conscious choices, we can reduce this footprint. But individual actions alone aren't enough. We also need political action and international cooperation. We need governments to implement policies that promote renewable energy and reduce carbon emissions. We need companies to take responsibility for their environmental impact. And we need countries to work together because climate change is a global problem that requires a global solution. Remember, each of us has a role to play. We can vote with our wallets by supporting companies that prioritize sustainability. We can vote with our ballots by electing leaders who understand the urgency of the climate crisis. And we can use our voices to raise awareness and demand action. Change starts with us. We have the power to make a difference. The future of our planet is in our hands. What will you do to make a difference? We've unearthed the cold, hard facts about climate change, laid bare the significant role human activity plays, and revealed the harsh impacts we're already witnessing. It's clear that the urgency of this issue cannot be overstated. Our climate is changing at an alarming rate, and our actions over the next few years will determine the kind of world future generations inherit. But we also shared the solutions within our reach. Each of us can make choices that reduce our carbon footprint, from the energy we use to the food we eat. Governments and corporations can implement policies that prioritize sustainability over short-term gain. The future isn't set in stone. We have the knowledge, the tools, and the power to change course. It's up to us to use them. We have one planet, Let's do everything we can to protect it.